Greetings and welcome to the Dead End Drive-In. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined by Dirk of Subjective Perspective Collective. How are you doing?
No, pretty good, man. You doing all right?
Doing well. We're also joined by, also from Subjective Perspective Collective, Darren. How are you?
Not too bad. Looking forward to this one. Should be quite a bit of fun.
Should be interesting. And for the first time on Dead End Drive-In, because he only comes in for the arty flicks, the prestige Oscar-nominated flicks. Lauren Dixon, how are you doing?
Old, foreign, and obscure. This fits all of them, right?
Yeah, well, not so much obscure, oddly enough, because we've tackled Jean Rollin and Jess Franco on the show before, but yeah, much more prestigious films. But these are probably two of the most seen films of these two directors, oddly enough.
And I'm sure they were both ecstatic that was the case.
We will
do
get
I want to be? Do I want to be remembered for Fascination or Zombie Lake?
Well, he changed his damn name, right, for this one.
Yes, wouldn't you? I would have changed my name in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, he tried to back out of it. He's like, oh, too late. I don't know. I don't know all the details on that shit though.
Yeah, he's probably more proud of the porn than Zombie Lake, I would imagine.
And lesbian vampires.
Lesbian, yeah, absolutely. He did better with lesbian vampires, but yeah. I always remind people, Grapes of Death, great movie. So
yeah,
but who knows? Who knows? Out of the four of us, there might be some love for these movies tonight. We'll see. You never know. But before we get into them, Zombie Lake, which I guess I'll read the basic description for it first before I get into the history, because both movies tonight intersect in a lot of different ways. But Zombie Lake is a 1981 film from director Jean Rollin, and in this movie, a small town is attacked by Nazi zombies who were killed by the town's villagers 20 years earlier. The mayor of the town refuses to take action against the zombie attacks until a reporter arrives to investigate and unearths some terrifying past involving the villagers and the mayor himself. Okay, so some basic history on this. Jess Franco was originally attached to direct and write Lake of the Living Dead for Eurocine Productions in 1980, but he exited at the last minute when producers Marius and Daniel Lesueur gave him a ridiculously low budget, and they roped Rollin into doing it at the very last minute with 3 days until shooting. So it was retitled Zombie Lake, and you can certainly still see the threads of Jess Franco hanging. Howard Vernon, a Franco regular, as the mayor.
Howard Vernon is the best part of the whole film. I mean,
he is.
Let's be real.
He's always a trooper.
Yeah, Daniel Lesueur too, man. He's a special effects guy in the next film. So I don't like. So yes. I guess he didn't do them in this film. I didn't even check that out or nothing.
I don't know if we.
You're saying there were special effects in that film?
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
They're a little better in Zombie Lake. Not much. I mean,
but you said
tape, painted tape or some shit on the dude's face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both are pretty ropey in the effects. But you said Howard Vernon's the best part of this film.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of the worst lead performances I've ever seen in one of these type of films.
And you both can be right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I like Howard Vernon. I mean, he had to suffer some pretty awful Franco films, but also some really good ones. Antonio Mayans, who plays the one-eyed zombie, who's still with us, I believe. He's another Franco regular. So not to spoil the next review too much, I do think this is the best of the two movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because something happens in the third act.
Yeah. I mean, and like, why was it compared to Shockwaves? I'm kind of pissed off about that.
Nazi zombies. I mean, that's about all there is to it. But
that's it. But I mean, no.
That's pretty much it. I mean, Nazi zombies was a sort of subgenre that was hot at the moment. This movie, believe it or not, was a big hit for Eurocine. They made a lot of money off of this one. So even though it's very hated, it got a lot of play. I think probably most of us maybe discovered it for the first time on Wizard Home Video here in the US. And the thing I like about this movie, oh, there you go. Yep, Redemption also put it out on Blu-ray. Both of these movies, like, they're just like logic be damned. The age of the girl in this one, the daughter. Yeah, it's like, oh, wait a minute. This is not, she's 10 years old, really? In the 80s?
So I was going to ask you guys that. So is this, because I was reading up on this, and it's supposed to be 20 years after the World War II.
Yeah.
Again, that don't make no sense whatsoever. Even if it's in present day, which was early 80s, late 70s, it just makes no sense why she's 10 years old. It's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, the timeline there doesn't match at all, and Oasis does it even worse, which we'll get to that.
I guess we're talking about a film with Nazi zombies, so you shouldn't look into it too deep, I guess. But
right.
Yeah.
And Jean Rollin, he did get the opening nudity in there, so
Oh yeah,
you can definitely tell that's him.
Yeah. I think that's really the highlight of this movie. To be quite frank, like, there's just a ton of nudity. I've heard this one called boring. I don't think that this movie's boring.
I don't think it's boring.
No.
Yeah, you're constantly barraged with at least something happening, unlike the second film.
I don't think boring is the right word, but I get completely what people are saying when they say it. I think it's not a particularly interesting film at any point, but no, it's not putting me to sleep. I mean, it's pretty droll stuff, really.
Yeah, you got a zombie with feelings at one point of the film. Like, what the hell's going on here? I mean,
a little bit different and less common at the time. I actually thought Pierre Escarou, who played the German soldier, gave a pretty good performance.
I guess for what he's working with.
Yeah. You get the impression that Rollin is trying on this movie. And I'm a big Franco guy, so I've got a lot of tidbits on Oasis. But
what's his name in this one? Is it J.S. Laser?
Yeah, J.A. Laser. Yeah.
J.A. Laser.
Not too proud of this film, which another thing he has in common with Jess Franco on Oasis. They were just, I don't know, everybody just trying to rope them into a Nazi zombie movie that they didn't want to make at the time. But watching them back to back, it's like so much. The booty shorts at the beginning, like, that's another thing that carries over to Oasis, and maybe the best thing in the movie once again.
Letting you know what's finna happen too. So.
Exactly. Although, as we'll get into, Oasis is significantly less sleazy than most Jess Franco movies. But a little background: the actress that played the daughter, she was actually the granddaughter of producers Daniel, the granddaughter of Marius Lucier's daughter of Daniel Lucier. And she was just added into the film because of nepotism. I think that subplot wasn't even a thing until last minute. So yeah, age didn't match up, but producers wanted it to happen, so it happened. It makes no sense. Does it really hurt the film? I guess not when it's this inept and you're just waiting for the next nude scene. I guess I can just roll with the fact that she's the youngest looking 20 or 30-year-old on the planet. But yeah, there's still something about this one, though. And I'm not going to lie, it's nothing. There's no hidden brilliant subtext or anything. It's mostly just boobs. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Like, it's boobs, and
it's entertaining, I'd say. Yeah. I was reading that this was made for $100,000, and there's no way, surely, that is true. Because where would the money have gone?
Exactly.
They
ordered a lot of takeout.
Yeah.
you can. HD doesn't do this one favors. I mean, you can see the makeup just falling off the zombie during that, the green zombie during that attack. It really makes that even worse. But
I mean, it literally looks like fucking Scotch tape on that dude's face painted.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, it does. Yeah.
I think that's all there is to it. Like, it's not the greatest makeup. There's still something kind of cool about Nazi zombies, because as a kid, and I talked about this on the Shockwaves episode, that idea fascinated me because I actually did read and was very interested in the Nazis' obsession with the occult, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to read up on there, and it's not bullshit. I mean, they did look into that.
Definitely.
Yes. So I was always fascinated by the concept of Nazi zombies. I mean, Shockwaves obviously is the better movie, but yeah. But nonetheless, I remember seeing that Wizard video and my eyes lighting up. Going to be the best movie of it ever. Didn't quite get there, but
what about the the lady's doing her laundry, right? There's one scene where she's doing her laundry, she's beating it, patting it, or whatever, and then she gets attacked by a zombie, and he's just like all over. How long does that shit go on for? I mean, it's like, he's just like, it's kind of like a preteen fucking dry kissing their pillow or some shit. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
On her neck for like fucking over a minute. I know it felt like fucking hour though. When I was watching it, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, we need to hit that 90 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The thing is with the makers of this as well, where you've got the basketball girl team, and you can see that with the way they were writing this is, how can we find something that we can get more TNA in the film. And I love that scene with her swimming, and that one girl goes running topless into the pub as you do. That's just that's the scene I remember from when I first saw it years and years ago, when she runs in and she goes, the lake like that. I was just laughing.
It's definitely Perv Row in your living room.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You couldn't watch this on a plane sitting next to someone. I gather,
No, definitely not. I mean, Rollin excels in surreal, otherworldly horror. And I know some of us have been revisiting a lot of his films through Indicator 4K releases, which have been stellar. There's no real... Right. Yeah. The
Rape of the Vampire. I haven't cracked none of these yet, but I mean, everything I've seen from them, man, is killer.
Among the best work out there as far as restorations go. I mean,
these things are feel like a brick.
Yeah.
They're heavy as hell.
So far, they've hit a home run with everything I've seen them do. Not just the Rollin stuff, but the Rollin stuff has been particularly amazing. And hopefully, because again, I know a lot of people, when I bring up Rollin, they're just like, oh, the Zombie Lake guy. And that's kind of sad.
Really?
Yeah. This movie was a big hit. It has that reputation, so you're assuming maybe it was a flop, but this did really good business for Urosini, and it is unnecessarily padded at times, but I'll still maintain, watching it at least a handful of times over the years, that there is still that charm. You feel like Rollin just went into the producers and they were just like, more boobs. And it's like, well, can we make sense of the girl age not matching up? No one will notice. More boobs. I think that was more or less the conversation.
Every 5-10 minutes, just put some women's boobs in there and you're good to go.
Exactly. They're not gonna question things like logic.
I think the missing part of that puzzle is that there was more than one film being made during all these productions.
Yeah.
So when you were mounting a production, you were making a porno on the backside of it. And many of those films will get diced up and their scenes be used in multiple productions afterwards. But they used, when you say that $100,000 for this production, yeah, for a real movie, that's nothing, and you can't really make a movie. But when you have a guarantee of 3 features coming out of it, and 2 of them are going to the X-rated market throughout Europe, suddenly it all kind of makes a lot more sense. So the horror films were the legit movies that were being made. That's kind of the front to make adult entertainment. Were not there was no real effort put into any kind of quality control at this point. It's different than like Fulvia, which when they were producing the Fulci movies, whereas like those films were meant for export to actually be a product to do well. Things like this film did it by accident. The fact that there's a cleaned up HD restoration of Zombie Lake is not a testament to their intentions.
Right.
Pure money making.
Yeah. It and often they were also shooting alternate versions of the movie for other markets too, which is the case in Oasis, which we'll get into. So yeah, sometimes they weren't making these films under the most ideal of circumstances. And Rollin's been on the record. I mean, he made his adult films and certainly this movie to fund his passion projects, which I think when you look at most of the genre work that he did, I mean, I think he was one of the greats. I think Rollin was spectacular. But as it stands, I think there was still a little bit more of an effort. There you go. To make something watchable. When Jess Franco wasn't into a movie, you could tell. You could really tell where he was just trying to crank it out and move on to the next thing. I think Rollin put in an effort, and again, it has its moments. It doesn't make sense, but it has its moments, and it's still fun. I have a soft spot for this movie, but you have to overlook a lot of things. The obvious dummy work with the flamethrower and some of the melodrama. I think
you see the flame, you see the gas just dripping down, like, you know what I mean? One part of it. I don't know, man. I got to be honest. I don't think I'll ever watch this fucking movie again. I'm just being real.
I've told myself that several times in my life.
Yeah.
But I don't want to lie to myself anymore.
Yeah.
There's something funny about the melodrama though too, like just the little girl at the end, don't forget me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They tried, but do you guys have a favorite Nazi or World War II themed even horror movie?
I mean, Shockwaves has got to be the Nazi. I know it's an easy answer. I'd have to think about it though, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Shockwaves over this.
As far as Nazi zombies go, I think it's got to be Shockwaves. So, yeah.
There's a few like later ones when they like Dead Snow and
Dead Snow. I didn't.
Other ones. I didn't
like that shit. I don't know.
Yeah, you have better options.
Of them, is there? I mean,
if you're including the entire Nazi PlayStation subgenre, as part of horror, which some people do, some people don't. So you have like something like the Love Camp SS, which probably.
Oh yeah. No,
in terms of just pure exploitation, fun, and the kind of film that you can walk away feeling gross and needing a shower. That's
like Gestapo's Last Orgy.
Yeah.
That was one we covered on Eurocut.
Or the first Elsa film.
That one that you've just mentioned, Lorne, SS Experiment Camp, is that the one where the German officer guy gets his balls blown off?
That happens like all of them, though.
The officer,
I think one of them, ain't that the one?
Ball, yeah.
I mix them up too, because one of them, I think the guy gets his dick cut off, but he's trying to steal the guy's dick or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one I'm on about. Yeah,
or something.
Because this guy's a stud, he's getting all the women. He does it.
And right there, that movie has more interesting ideas than Zombie Lake.
Right. Yeah. It's just this lake is damned, and women, when they get by it, they just want to get naked. I don't know.
Get naked and it's
eaten by zombies.
Kind of get eaten by zombies.
Yeah.
They get gently munched on by zombies, kind of.
Yeah.
It's funny with the Nazi. It's funny with the Nazi exploitation films. I remember years ago when I was doing Creep Show radio at the time, somebody called into the show and he was drunk and he was trying to figure out what Nazi exploitation movie it was, and he's like, "Which is the one where the girl has sex with the dog?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, though that happened in like a couple of them." And he's like, "Well, it also." I think she had sex with like a giant beast in a cage, and I'm like, yeah, that's like 2 or 3 of them.
The Beast in Heat.
Beast in Heat. Yeah, probably that. But yeah, a lot of them felt like the exact same movie.
Right.
Well, a lot of them were the exact same movie. I mean, there was a spot on 42nd Street for a Nazi exploitation film from 1972 to 85. There was always going to be one in circulation somewhere in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's funny because America has a really weird view of World War II compared to Europe, especially where the people who actually had to fight it on their own land. For us, it's either sacrosanct and you can't talk about it, or we only are pretending to really care because it really wasn't our thing, except for our soldiers who didn't come home.
Mm-hmm.
But for Europe, it's a whole different thing. They've gone through basically all the grief cycles on it, to the point whereas, in the 70s, there was such a weird fascination in Britain and France and Greece with the Nazi iconography that it was everywhere. It felt like, from Monty Python animation to on Sid Vicious's t-shirt, right? So, but we didn't have that level of fascination. Our fascination either was complete fantasy, which is why I think more Americans like Ilsa, the Wicked Warden, than Europeans do, to be honest. Or we just don't want to talk about it because we're so clutching our pearls about something that happened, 70 years ago, and no one, the people who fought it are very few and far between at this point. So it's a different kind of thing. It's interesting that there wasn't a lot of Nazi exploitation films made in America, considering we didn't have to fight the bloody wars in our towns. Yes, our able-bodied men went over and fought it, but it wasn't being fought literally in churchyards and schoolyards. So
right.
It's funny when Grindhouse came out and everybody was excited at the trailers being made into movies, and even back then I was like, I don't think Werewolf Women of the SS is going to happen. I don't think they can do it. You can't. If you've watched those Nazi exploitation movies, they're so sleazy, and so I don't think anything like it will ever exist again. There's just no way you could do it in America, which makes those movies special, because they're a period in time that I think we'll never go back to.
Would y'all put Salon Kitty in there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's sort of that's
much more art side.
Yeah. Brass.
But all the elements are there.
Yeah, and it's Italian fascists instead, but Sallow was 120 Days of Sodom, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's weird again. The oversensitive nature of America towards World War II is I mean, for me, when I set the opening scene of Bleak December in Birkenau, I really didn't think it was going to be the problem with the publisher. And ultimately, my main publisher decided to pass on the book. I had to go elsewhere. And that was literally just a setting. So something like this was always going to be something that rode the ages, the morality of the age, from acceptance to not acceptance. But because it's so inept, it's harmless, right? If this had been an actual good film, it would probably be much more of a problem. So that's kind of the interesting thing here.
Yeah.
What's strange to me, though, like there hasn't been really anything. I mean, there's plenty of stuff about the Holocaust. There's plenty of stuff about World War II. But as far as America goes, I ain't trying to go on a tangent here. I just want to bring it up real quick. It's always bothered me, like the Native American genocide has never really been hit. I mean, in cinema as much, like as like the Holocaust, Nazi exploitation, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's been tackled, but yeah, not with as much frequency.
Not that many.
I don't think either side really want that very investigated.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of blame to go around in a very partial examination, and that's not true of Nazis. I mean, the Nazis were pretty clear cut in the wrong all the way through. That you could talk about the reasons that Germany went fascist, but you cannot excuse anything that they did. Even I'm not even talking about the Holocaust. I'm not just talking about the extreme expansionism, the annexation of countries, and historically white provinces surrounding them. Even going back before Nazis were fully in power, they were already starting the war drums. And so it's easy to use them as villains because who's going to defend them? But if you really want to look at any other Holocaust or any other mass killing, it's a little bit harder because no one really wants to look at the bad behavior on both sides of other stuff.
Yeah. So well, there you go. This movie, though, you won't have any deep analysis of anything. This is just boobs.
Yeah, don't watch it.
I'll play a couple little sound bites if y'all want.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Okay, here we go. Got a little shit like this.
Didn't she say where the fuck she was going? She left her bag here.
She said she was going out to the lake.
You better face the fact that zombies have declared war. You think that if any one of us had seen those poor girls, we would have let them go out there and get killed?
I mean, the dubbing is fucking excellent, right?
And try not to break any glasses this time.
Yeah. Just bring me the bottle. I won't break no glass. The girl's not back yet, is she? Don't worry. She probably met some young stud.
I will say, yeah, watch this one dubbed. You don't need to see it in the original language. Yeah. Just watch it dubbed. It'll add to the experience. There's also a little scene to watch for that I thought was hilarious. In the pub, there's a scene where the zombies are raising hell. And there's this old man, I'm sure obviously not an actor, who just runs, and the zombie hits him. He completely no-sells it. Like, he just kind of keeps going about his business, and it's really funny. There's a lot of little moments like that probably should have been, called for,
what
take
about
two.
the blood bowl luring of the little girl and that whole damn scene? I mean, oh man, it's just fucking eye roll shit, man. Like, it really is.
It is. Well,
yeah.
I think when you're considering watching something like Zombie Lake, you really need to, figure out what the average life expectancy is for someone in the country you live in, and subtract the number of years that you've been alive, maybe divide by a number of hours in a day, and decide really if this is the investment you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying don't watch a Jean Rollin film. I'm just saying not this one.
Yeah, I would. This would be the last one. I would say to watch.
I haven't seen the whole catalog, but
yeah, the way to watch this for me is kind of similar to like something like Troll 2. I just watch it for the comedy. I just get comedy out of it all day long. But in terms of like an actual film, it's going to be hard to rate because it's, well, for me, I would say it's like possibly a 3 out of 10. But in terms of entertainment value, it's like an 8, 7 or an 8. So it's a weird one.
Oh shit!
It's a good one for riffing night. If any of you do that with your friends, it's a good one to just sit and pick apart, and you'll have a good time. But yeah, it is hard to rate, and I guess we'll go ahead and rate this one and move on to the next. Yeah, there is some entertainment value, so I'm going to be a little generous, but I still I can't go above a 4 for this. 4 out of 10, I should say, on this show. It's very inept, but there's more to enjoy, I think, than our next film.
Oh yes.
Man, I know I'm in the minority here, but and I haven't given a score like this yet on the Dead End Drive-In, but
I know what's coming. I think
it's a -1 out of 10. I'm serious, man. Like, there's so much other shit that I need to see.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Did you say -1? Not
-1. Yeah.
Oh my god.
-1 out of 10 for me. But I mean, I don't know. It's just holy shit, it was hard to trudge through, and then it just got worse onto the second.
Oh yeah.
Shit.
What's that, a -2 the next one?
No, I'm not saying that, but no, it's just damn it, man. Damn it.
Well,
it was a hard one for me.
We said we're going to cover some crap on this show, so
yeah,
you guys got some crap.
Yeah.
So how about you?
Shit is what.
But let us know what you think. Again, in the comments, if you disagree, by all means, let us know what you think.
What do you give it, Lauren? I'm just curious.
Oh, easy D-.
Okay.
I don't give A+ to much, and I don't give Fs to much. This comes close. It comes close. And again, I've probably watched this film 4 or 5 times in my life, and it's very much like Exorcist II: The Heretic, although that's a better film than this. That I keep convincing myself there's some good reason to watch it, and then when it gets to the end of the film, I realize that once again I've been wrong. But
yeah,
I've made the mistake. I've made the mistake many times, and because again, I'll watch something like Shiver of the Vampires or It's Fascination and say, well, but if Rollin made it, there has to be something I'm missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
with Zombie Lake, though, I think it was just a payday. Is what I think.
He jumped on with 3 days.
Yeah.
To get ready and just make the movie. So, sometimes just getting a film out in that amount of time is really impressive. I look at somebody like David Dakota. It's a whole lot of crap there, but my God, I don't think I could make a movie in 2 or 3 days, and he's able to do that. So,
I think too, sometimes these directors, especially at this time, were saying yes to projects to maintain the relationship with the producers so that they get future opportunities. For this kind of cinema, there was a lot of people who could make this kind of stuff. Now, how well, that's a different issue, but the producers weren't overly concerned with quality, obviously. So if you didn't say yes, maybe they never asked you again. It's kind of like not taking a promotion at work.
Exactly. And that's why you let them cast their daughter/granddaughter in the movie and write her into the script. That's what happened.
And just make sure she's
surprised.
And just make sure she's out of the set by 5 o'clock because a different movie gets filmed then.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, I think she actually is one of the better things about the film. I know, as a child actor and all that, it's not great. Howard Vernon is by far the worst for me.
She and the German zombie felt like they were acting like they were in a better movie. Maybe you could transplant that into a better movie. But yeah. Now here's the real question though. Lauren, what do you do when Vinegar Syndrome or Severin comes to you and gives you an offer to do the novelization of Zombie Lake? How do you fix it? What do you do?
I mean, I ask them how literal they want it. and if they don't care, which would be completely in keeping with, you know, the original producers, I mean, in that case, I just do something completely different that happens to have zombies and a lake in it.
Okay.
Whatever. If I get that call, we'll cross that road.
You might. There's a lot. Novelizations are hot again, and I think with a lot of people that don't read them, but they're still hot.
Why would you let me
one that'll sell out day one too?
Oh yeah,
knowing
VS
crowd.
So VS, if you're gonna call me, please make it something like Monster Dog, not this.
Yeah,
I could do something with. I could do something with Monster Dog.
Yeah.
Or my dream project would be Wild Beasts. Definitely send me Wild Beasts. I will write I will write the hell out about Wild Beasts.
I think if you do get that call, that's got to be the first novelization with a slipcover, just for the irony. All right, so let's move on to our next film. Everybody's excited, in a good mood for this one.
Can we pause for just a second?
Sure.
Okay. I just got to hit the head right quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, sure. I'll do a cut there so you see it.
Well, I'm just going to write down 37 minutes so that I...
Okay, cool.
Do I have a pen? That would be nice.
Well, you'll see me doing that, so if you forget.
This one was rough, though, I think. If you think that one was bad, this one was worse.
You don't like uncut shots of a guy standing in a fucking field?
Oh, God, man. I got to a point during this, which I'll say when we're doing the review, and I found nothing redeemable whatsoever, like, right the way through this one. I can't, I just... It's one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's got to be.
Dan, you pitched this to these guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We've been saying for a while, I was like, man, we're tackling a lot of really good movies. So I feel like we got to do some crap. And because sometimes it's fun to just talk about films. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dan, did you watch the digest version of Day the Clown Died that I sent?
Yes, I did, and I really want to see it still, which I shouldn't because I know
it's half the movie. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's everything important that's probably there. I don't think a lot. It's what it's always been said it was. It's not worth commenting. It's just kind of a nothing burger. So.
It's nice to kind of scratch that itch, though, to get a look at it finally. I mean, I'm still a little surprised they haven't just put it out. He said 5 years after he was dead, and he's been dead longer than that. So
I just want to know where that Russian collector got the digest version from. That's unbelievable to me.
Hey.
And it's decent quality too. It's not even so.
Yeah. All right. So we cut. I don't think I didn't start right. I'll just pick up with.
Sorry, man.
Oh, no worries. I understand. When you gotta go, you gotta go. All right.
Wait 20 seconds.
Okay.
3 seconds. No, 13 seconds. But 10 seconds from now.
All right, let's continue on with our most prestigious episode ever with another Nazi zombie movie, this time from 1982. You may hear my dog barking, protesting this. He
Whoa.
Muted.
All right. We will take another. How did I get myself muted there? All right. We'll go again. All right. Continuing on with our Nazi zombie episode. We'll think good thoughts. We'll get through this one. You may hear my dog going ballistic. He had to sit through all 90 minutes with me, and he still holds a grudge. But this is the 1982 film from director Jess Franco, Oasis of the Zombies. And in Oasis of the Zombies, during World War II, a small German squadron was assigned the task of carrying a shipment of Nazi gold across the African desert. Along the way, the squadron was ambushed by the Allies, and only one American soldier, Robert, survived. Years later, Robert tells his story to a German treasure hunter named Kurt, who promptly murders him. Robert's son, upon learning of his father's death, vows to travel to Africa and find the lost gold himself. While the desert is hazardous enough by itself, the dangers lurking around the oasis are far more terrifying than the treasure hunters ever imagined. That sounds like a good movie, but
yeah. And of course, Franco wrote this one, right? If I'm correct.
Yes. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Robert Blabbert. I mean, you know.
Robert Blabbert. Yes.
Yeah. Bob Blabbert. Shit.
So this is another one that's very connected, as we've already seen with Zombie Lake. This, at the time, Eurocine had initially had Jean Rollin, going back to him, shoot modern zombie inserts for the 1971 Jess Franco film that they owned, A Virgin Among the Living Dead, to kind of take that movie's surreal Franco fever dream vibe and have it more in line with the post Lucio Fulci zombie and Dawn of the Dead gory zombie feel. But the footage he shot just looked hokey and ridiculous, so they decided to scrap it and let Franco just do his own version of Zombie Lake, which of course became Oasis of the Zombies. And this is a time with Jess Franco where I mean, there's many eras of his career, made over 200 movies. He's done it all. But he's really kind of in his trend jumping period at this point. The cannibal films that he did, Devil Hunter and Cannibals, his slasher film, Bloody Moon. And of course, it made sense that he would try and capitalize on that post Dawn of the Dead wave. Famously, his cannibal films he fucking despised. He didn't care. If you go back and look at interviews, he doesn't understand why anybody would even want to watch such a thing. And
that's the same with Lindsay, right? Lindsay was the same way until he started getting recognized for the shit. So,
well, it's a shame with him because I think he did great work, but you can tell when Jess doesn't care. And this is definitely one where he didn't want to do it.
I was gonna say, because dude, like the camera zoom is like an itchy trigger finger with the zoom on this one. Like it's like
yeah. And he was always known for those sleazy zoom shots, which is amazing because I mean there's a little bit of sex and nudity in this, very little for Franco.
Very little, yeah. Yeah, he get in there with it. The lens.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
He shoots it from far away, which I think is just wild. It's a movie that really doesn't feel like a Jess Franco film at all. And once again, strange because this is one of the most seen Jess Franco movies, maybe a little less so now, but this movie's always been available on every format. It was easy to come by on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Oasis of the Zombies is just one that's made the rounds, and I would say it's one of the worst movies he ever made.
Oh yeah,
I really would.
Hell
and I've
yeah.
seen close to 200, probably, at least everything that's available. So I can say that this one's awful. But before I delve deep on the crappiness of this, what did you guys think? Is it first time watch, or did you see it back in the day?
Yeah,
video?
Yeah, this is the first round go for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. First,
and I mean, these. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but both of these are available on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch them. So
yeah,
yeah, definitely don't invest in buying any of these, I would say.
Yeah.
This was kind of like a first time watch because I settled down. It must have been about 10, 15 years ago to watch this. And my instinct kind of couldn't get me past like first 5 minutes. But going back to this time, it's just, I found it a chore, to be honest, to get through. It's really hard.
This is a chore for sure.
There's nothing redeemable like during the whole running time. I wish I could come on and be a bit more positive, like, but yeah.
Well, you just got to be real at the end of the day. So the best thing about the film is this shit right here.
That'd be just well.
I got a little chuckle out of that, but then the rest of the time I was crying. Okay, at the very beginning of the film, you see the short shorts again with the chicks.
The booty shorts,
There's
yes.
2 chicks though, so you're thinking, okay, you're gonna get double the pleasure, or whatever, whatever you want to call it. And then, the big girl, the thicker girl, starts hauling ass because I guess she's seen a spider web or something. I don't know what the hell is going on. Starts hauling ass, and then she just does a dead stop so somebody can grab her legs. Like it's pretty bad, man. It lets you know exactly what you're getting in for. I mean, but yeah.
I think logically this one's actually much worse than Zombie Lake. I mean,
it is. Yeah.
Once again, Captain Blabbert's son is in college during the 80s, yet he was so it's like, what's going on here? I think the actor was like barely into his 20s at the time, so there was it made the timeline made zero sense. Now, like I said, with Franco, sometimes things don't always make sense, but when it's his surreal fever dream kind of films, it works. It doesn't work here. Character motivations are never clear in this movie. It just, you could tell he could care less, and it comes off. And it hurts me as a Jess Franco fan because I think the highs are very impressive. He is a good filmmaker. It's just 200 movies. He made some real dreck at times, and this is in that category. But oh man, the zombie on a stick Spirit Halloween prop, that makes me laugh to this day. The makeup, he didn't care. Like, gore was something to him that he didn't think it was important. He never put effort into it. Although, Faceless and even Bloody Moon has some good gore shots.
The
here it
prostitute
just
murder in Bloody Moon is one of the best kills in slasher film.
It is.
Yeah,
it is, which is shocking because again, that was stuff that he didn't care, but maybe he was a little more excited at the prospect of a slasher than Nazi zombies in the desert.
And they use stock footage from a 1971 film, Heroes Without Glory. Italian war film. You see interlaced in some shots, and then he chose the location too. It's Gran Canaria. He chose the location because it had a camel population.
Yeah.
So,
just all camels. Yeah. I think we owe the camels reparations for this movie and having to participate in it. But oh boy.
What's your favorite zombie though? The bug-eyed zombie, man. I gotta go with the bug-eyed zombie.
Man, those bulging eyes and the pasty looking faces of zombies, man.
Got like hair on his face and shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It was just like, what do we have lying around to make it? I did a zombie movie with Conrad Brooks. Sometimes that's how it is. It's just like, just throw some dirt on him. It's fine. Like, we don't need to go to any effort. Let's just throw some dirt on it. And I think that's how Franco was. The producers were cheap. I know that was part of the issue with Zombie Lake. They just offered him an insanely low budget. But Franco usually, one thing I will say, and if you've watched enough of his films, he always managed to find beautiful locations. Something about him, like he could find the most unique locations for some of these movies. Here, I mean, not so much. It's just, it's kind of desert, bland. So anything that you look for in a Franco movie is kind of not here. Again, I don't understand what happened with the erotic content, because it's there, but it's like he doesn't even care about that, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
And
I was expecting more beautiful women and like more TNA, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the effects, I think this makes Burial Ground look like Night of the Living Dead. It's completely like terrible. Like, oh man.
What's up with the damn weird clicking sound? I was still trying to figure that. I'm still trying to figure it out. It sounds like when we used to put playing cards in our bicycle spokes back in the day. What it sounds like.
I think it was someone's idea of an uncanny sound, kind of like all the jungle sounds that Fulci uses in City of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense and illogical, but it has a nightmarish feel. I think they were looking for something that logistically in a desert setting. So they were thinking maybe clicking insects, so locusts, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Sometimes ideas should be tried, and if they don't work, abandoned and not double down because that's all you had.
Throw it in the film.
What pisses me off about this movie, to be honest with you, is that and there's a big gap between, I understand, but this is the guy who made the awful Dr. Orloff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A
Diabolical Dr. Z.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that his 60s work is his pinnacle, which is not completely fair, but if you like great European Gothics, he made many. So by the time you get to something like this, which is basically a student film at best, and not even that, I had a friend, Chris, who used to call me up and be like, I'm making a zombie movie because we have a lot of leaves. And so he'd have like a zombie coming out of leave and chasing his girlfriend around. it was a home video, for Christ's sake. But I guarantee you'd have more fun watching that if those videos still exist than this.
Right.
And that's heartbreaking to me because it happened to many of our classic horror directors. As far back as the genre goes, Todd Browning didn't maintain his status either, right? But to watch someone like Franco go from making very lush, very legitimate film to this.
Yeah.
And I mean, the scary thing is at the time it didn't feel like it, but by the late 80s, people like him were relegated to basically video productions. Basically.
Oh yeah. He endured through so many eras. I mean, the Franco regime that he had to get around, just making films, Germany, France, all over the place, and even arriving at a point going into the 2000s. I mean, he never stopped working on film, where he was making movies in his house, and around his house. If you look at some of the Sub Rosa titles that he did, I mean, that was Jess Franco still refusing to call it quits. And some of those movies are worth watching because even though they were no budget productions, he was still able to make the films that he wanted to make. But I often, with Jess Franco, I'll throw him in with some of the great directors, and some people may laugh. It's like, well, how the hell could you compare him to Wes Craven, who we were talking about earlier? And I'm like, well, look at it like this. How many great movies did Wes Craven did? It's not a big number. Yes, Jess Franco made a lot of crap, but I could name more movies that I like from him than I can from Wes Craven. So, as you said, there was a period where he was hammering out some fantastic movies and some fantastic sleaze. Barbed Wire Dolls. Not gonna call that a a classic film necessarily, but I think it's a classic exploitation film. So hopefully you guys won't hold it against him if this is your first Franco, which I know it was for a lot of people. And also consider with this, he was shooting 2 movies at the same time because he had this French and the Spanish version. Right. Which sadly the Spanish one is lost from what I understand, but Lena Romay's in that one. Yeah.
Did it have more footage from what I heard?
I've heard people say that it's the better version. It's just unfortunately it's not available. Lena was in that, which Lena Romay for me, one of my ultimate Euro horror crushes. She always made a movie worth watching.
This is a slog fest, though. It takes some doing to get through. For me, it really did. Like I was like, "Fuck, when is this shit gonna?" Like I'm looking at the time, and never gets fine.
I can't imagine the average kid with the streaming services that clicks on either of these films, frankly, but this one even more so.
Yeah,
getting 10 minutes into this thing. If you're 23 years old and you have the option to watch 400 horror titles, and you look at the thumbnail, because both these have great posters, and you look at the thumbnail and you click on this, you're not going to make it out of the credits. You're just not, and you're not going to be wrong. Honestly, it's tempting to say that just because things are of a vintage that we like. Certainly late 70s, early 80s for most people is a vintage that really pops for them and makes them feel all those feels like they remember the early video store days, and that instantaneously makes it worthwhile. These 2 films in particular, but this one even more so, really kind of put that to the test, and I don't think the test goes well.
Yeah,
I can see this turning somebody away from even venturing out. In anything else.
I mean, I was kind of lucky. The first Franco film I saw was Bloody Moon, and I'm like a massive slasher fan, so that kind of hooked me in a bit. And he's got stuff like Faceless, obviously. One I really like a lot is Venus in Furs. They did in the late 60s. That's probably one of my favorites. But like Lorne said, to come from that to this is just poles apart, really. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean Justine, and a lot of the stuff.
Justine is probably
great.
My favorite that I've seen of Franco.
He some of the stuff he did with Klaus Kinski and Christopher Lee back then. I mean he was helming big budget stuff, and
Dracula is great for the first 30 to 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes.
Hey, you know what? It's not the best Dracula movie ever made, but I think Count Dracula has its moments. He was able to lure Christopher Lee out of, he was done with Dracula, and he was able to get him back for the promise of a more authentic Dracula to the story, which it doesn't totally get there, but it is more so than a lot of other movies. And I recommend checking out his Count Dracula.
And definitely check out the ones with Soledad Miranda.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if she'd have went on and lived, what he could have done.
I don't know that Lena would have had the career that she did. And I love Lena, but I mean, Soledad did have the it factor. She's beautiful, legitimately wonderful actress. Life cut short way too soon. I will throw out another zombie movie he made, and it's not good, but it does deliver the sleaze, and it feels more like a Jess Franco movie, and that's 1985's Mansion of the Living Dead, which you'll probably definitely enjoy better than Oasis, because there is at least the Franco staples in that one, including beautiful locations. But yeah, as it is with this one, I'd be curious to check out that Spanish version of the film. at some point to see like maybe he just put all the effort into that one, and this sort of just fell by the wayside. But this movie's just awful. It
is
moved from scene to scene. Nothing makes sense. The zombie stuff doesn't save it at all.
No, it hurts it very bad. So
I was always interested to see what Dan was going to make of this one, because I know such a big Franco fan. And you kind of pitched this as well, because it's at the end of the day, you know, for these films, you know, you're not going to get like 10 out of 10s or anything. But no, it's good to hear that you feel the same, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna look you in the eye and say that Oasis of the Zombies is a good time.
Yeah, I imagine there's somebody though that'll be bullshitting, you know.
There'll be somebody. I'd be curious for anybody that sees this video and is familiar with Jess Franco. Like, what would you say is his top 3 best movies and top 3 worst? I'd be curious for you guys to put those in the comments.
I mean, I hate to spoil the film, but like, you know, all I'm gonna say is this: I'm gonna be kind of vague about it, but like when the Sheik arrives, right?
Yeah,
and he's like, he says, "What did you learn?" or something. Is that what he says? What did you learn? And he says,
"Yeah,
I mainly found myself."
Yeah, like, that's the last line.
And they give each other this look like, you know, they're all smiling and all these fucking people have died. And it's like, so it took all that shit. You had to get everybody killed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I would have ended with the Sheik going, it's like, you look great for 45. And just pat him on the head.
Right.
Ride off into the sunset. But all right, let's rate this one. We'll see if anybody ends up in the negatives again. I'm not in the negatives, but just because it's Jess Franco, I'll give it a 1.5. That's very
okay. That's
nice.
Very nice of you, Dan.
But what about you guys?
It's I gotta give it the same, man. Well, I give it a -1.5 because I gave the other one a -1. So
okay. Darren.
Yeah, for me it's a 1 out of 10. And now, having heard all your, you know, what you think of it as well, I don't know why I give it a 1, but yeah, just for being a film, I guess I'll give it a 1 for effort or lack of effort.
And Lauren, will you be nice to this?
So this is one shot in the film where palm trees are pulled back to reveal a human skull, and it's pretty evocative, and it's a pretty great shot.
Yeah.
The rest of the film sucks, so it's a D-, just like the previous one.
Yeah.
But that shot is all. It feels like it was shot for another film. It's that good. It's that well framed.
And the skull's by like a swastika.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
So,
but for me, it's you know, it's.
So I don't want to give the impression that I'm giving them the same. I don't want to give the impression that I think that these two films are of equal quality, because this is the worst of the two.
Yeah.
But for me to put something in the F category, it has to be not just bad and incompetent. It has to actually offend me to have spent the time watching it. And I can't honestly say either of these do that. They weren't holding me hostage. Okay. So, I mean, there's films like Battlefield Earth that actually, that's an F. Monkey Bone, that's an F. That first Skyline movie is a fucking F. Films that actually just hurt me watching them.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I will throw out one newer, it's not new anymore, it's like 15 years old, but Blood Creek is a good Nazi zombie movie.
It's got that one, yeah.
It is. Yeah, Blood Creek is decent.
Yeah, that one I do kind of recommend. Dominic Purcell, Henry Cavill, before he blew up and became big, is also in that one. So yeah, I highly recommend Blood Creek. It's a little gem that doesn't get talked about.
What's y'all's thoughts on Overlord?
I had fun with Overlord. I mean, I wouldn't call it a great film, but
it's not a great one. Like, I give that one a 5.
Yeah, it's almost the film it wants to be, but it's not, so it really ends up disappointing pretty huge. Good cast.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for World War II horror, so I'm not hard to please. I mean, Death Watch is another good one that doesn't get talked about. The Bunker, German film. There's a lot to dive into before you get into the dregs with the Oasis of the Zombies. So,
right.
There's a few there. But again, guys, let us know in the comments if you want us to cover something good or bad. We'd love to do it. And we will have some more Jess Franco. Bloody Moon comes up a lot, so maybe we'll do Bloody Moon at some point. Yeah. So I guess on that note, we will bow out. But before we do, be sure to check out Region Free here on this channel. Also, Subjective Perspective Collective, of course. And what do you guys have coming up? I don't know when this is going to air, so it might already be up.
Well, we'll be reviewing the Forgotten Jolly Volume 7 real soon. So
nice.
380s Jolly. So the new VS release. But yeah,
that's very cool. I'm actually doing unfortunately it's on Patreon for obvious reasons, but we're doing the last tournament on the left, and I'm doing a sort of Greek giallo called the Wife Killer, which is under a different name. But
I know the name is under.
Yeah. So it's funny to tackle some of those films. Some of the Turkey even got into the giallo craze back then. So we're hitting a lot of that, and some of this obscure giallo stuff, some of which even I didn't see, has been really cool. So check out those sets. I recommend them.
Definitely.
And on that note, guys, we will see you back here next time for more Dead End Drive-In. Good night.
Later, y'all.
Have a good one, guys.